everybody, Allison Gardner here, and it's time to talk. And I want to talk about what's going on in the world today. And I don't mean J-Lo, and I don't mean the Trump impeachment, or not impeachment, or whatever. And I don't mean Mitt Romney, and I don't mean... I have been in a state of pretty much exhaustion since October. And every time that I would get on, I finally had to step back from social media because every time that I got on social media, I saw some other biting comment or some other biting remark about something, or someone calling someone out, or just this overall feeling of like, oh, I can't believe you would think that because we really should think this way, or you think that way? Oh my gosh, like that is so awful. How mean, like you're being so mean. And no matter what angle or perspective somebody had, that was sort of the final feeling that I got from the messages. Oh my goodness, like I can't believe that you'd feel that. Or shaming that I would feel that way, or that someone else would feel that way. Like it wasn't even me responding to people who disagreed with my opinions or my thoughts. It was like everybody, because everything that I read caused this reaction, caused this contention to rise up in me, that this kind of like I needed to rise to defense or rise to offense or something. And it just made me really sad, because we don't actually know what other people are going through. We have no clue. And now you're like, what does that have to do with having opinions about other stuff? Let me connect the dots. So I have been feeling, as I mentioned, I've been in like a state of pretty much exhaustion since October. And it started out as mono. It took some time in the flu. I caught a cold, which is why there's a cough drop in my mouth. And it brought up a lot of my own fears and a lot of my own thoughts of failure, and how I didn't measure up to my own standards for myself and my own perspectives for myself. And a lot of shame about why I couldn't just push through and handle it, or what was wrong with me that I couldn't just handle it better. And as I have mentioned in last video, I also have been working through some work stuff and trying to figure out some things there. And what I have discovered through this whole process, what I have had to come to face with every day, is that when we feel that it's time for change and we want to do something to help us, or we want to improve our circumstances, or whatever it is, we start telling ourselves stories about why it's like, we tell ourselves stories about why it's okay that we want change, and to explain why it was so bad before. And so why that's now okay for us to want change. And as I have been thinking of that and watching that play out in my own life, I've seen some stories rise up in my own head about why people were enemies, or about why I should want something better, or what had been done to me, and so why I deserved something better. And as I kind of got caught up in this mindset, because I have grown up in an atmosphere my entire life where you worked hard, you put your heart and soul into something, and you just kept going no matter what. That's just what you do. You are in it to work hard, and your reputation and your feelings about yourself are all based on how well you just push through, and how well you keep going, and how well you show up for other people. And so when I started kind of waking up to the fact that I was done, the illnesses that came up were a physical manifestation of how done I was with where I was at. And so then I started diving into that and figuring out what it was. I came to the conclusion that I wanted something better, and that I needed something different for myself. And it didn't have anything to do with anybody else. It didn't have anything to do with the grass is greener on the other side or any of the typical things, I guess, that you would think of. It was just for me to be the best me, to be the me that loves waking up every morning. There was certain aspects in my life that I needed different stuff. And so as I dived into that and delved into that, that's where the stories came in, because I had to come up with reasons why I had gone on for so long, and then all of a sudden why it had changed. And for me, and why I said, like, you just keep moving forward. And so for me, just wanting something better for myself wasn't a good enough reason. I realized that is so flawed, and I realized that is so messed up. But for my head, that's what it was. There wasn't doing it for me, doing it for my well-being, doing it for me and my long-term joy and hope wasn't good enough. And so I found myself telling stories and making enemies in my head so that it was okay that I was changing. But the problem is, once you make someone else an enemy, you have to keep feeding that story. And you have to keep seeing negative things about them to feed that story. Whereas if I just say, I love myself and I love my choices, and so I'm going to make different choices, then you don't have to tell any stories other than the bright future you hope to build for yourself. You don't have to spend energy trying to blame or shame or crop up contention, because it's just you doing what's best for you. So let me connect this back to what I have been observing. So I got caught in that trap for a little bit about blaming and shaming, just in my head, and just trying to work through the stories in my head and what was going on in my head. And finally, the Spirit tapped me on the shoulder yesterday and said, Allison, you know the hell you've gone through. You know the self-doubt that you've gone through. You know the self-shaming that you've gone through. You know the frustration you've gone through. And that you have no idea how to talk about it. You have no idea how to share with anyone else what your limitations are, what your fears are. That the very idea of yourself has changed. You have no clue how to share any of those things. So no one in the outside world knows what you're carrying around. No one on the outside has any idea where you're at, and that you literally are doing the best that you can right now. And a lot of things are going by the wayside, and a lot of relationships are in a weird spot right now, and just a lot of things are weird because you are doing the best that you can, and that's all that you can offer. So have you considered that the other things in your life and the other circumstances and the other people in your life are also doing the best that they can? And that they don't know how to share with you what's messed up in their life. They don't know how to share with you childhood trauma or fear or physical limitations or mental limitations, whatever it is, what feels like a mental limitation. They are just doing the best that they can to keep themselves together. And so how can you judge them? How can you place blame or try and shame or tell stories? Because you have no idea what they carry around. And what if you just responded with love? And I thought about all of the people on all the different sides of the issues, of every issue that's out in the world today. The world wants to tear us apart. The world emphasizes differences. The world emphasizes that for you to have that opinion, somebody else's opinion has to be wrong. Or that the story that you tell yourself can be the only right story because it's your story and it's your reality and it's what you see. But what if every other person out there had a different story and had a different reality and carried around different stuff? And so they are doing the best that they can, and their ideas and their opinions and their thoughts are based on their story and their experience and their ideas. And what if what makes us different is so much smaller than makes us the same? Every person on this planet has one thing in common. I can guarantee you has one thing in common. They all live on this planet. and they are all God's children. When Christ came to the earth, he emphasized 2 great commandments. First, love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, might, mind, and strength. Second only to this is to love thy neighbor as thyself. The problem is, if we don't know how to take care of ourselves and love ourselves, and we're telling ourselves stories, and we're holding ourselves to impossibly high standards, and we're afraid of not measuring up, then that's the kind of love we give to other people. But if we love ourselves, and we realize and we have mercy and acceptance of our own limitations and of our own problems and our own stuff, then we offer that same love to other people. So I would invite you, the next time that someone triggers you, or the next time that something comes up that makes you want to jump to react, or jump to engage, or jump to contend, or that just kind of makes you go, oh my goodness, I would invite you to think for a moment what you carry around, and then ask yourself what the other person is carrying around too. Because the world can be a very beautiful place when we stop telling stories and we stop pointing blame. We stop trying to prove that we're right, and instead we accept that we're all flawed, and we're all trying, and we all have a story that matters. Thanks for joining me, and I will be following up on this idea of loving ourselves more in the next video. See you then. Bye.